Today on Writing Done Right, we are going to have a look at LibreOffice. We have done introductions of this software in the past. We are going to look at it again as the latest versions, of course, bring in some bug fixes and some improvements on the UI. Right now, we are looking at 24.8, or we're somewhere around there. I didn't look exactly which version is on this new version of Linux Mint here. But we are going to have a look at this and what LibreOffice can do for you. Thanks for checking out this video by Writing Done Right. I'm Thomas Morosky, an author and technical consultant. And today we do want to have a look at this wonderful application called LibreOffice. This is what I have used for several years now. So LibreOffice is called free software, which carries with it a couple of connotations. Number one is there's not an upfront cost for it. Of course, if you find a lot of benefit in using it, the foundation would love a donation, but they don't force you to pay for it. It is also free in the sense that if you happen to be a programmer or know what you're doing with that, you can get a copy of the code and make the adjustments you want to the software. You can even redistribute it if you want. Most people don't do that, but the point is that you can see what's in the code, everybody can see what's going on in the code, and there's really no issues that you have as far as are they tracking you? Are they spying on you? Are they stealing your writing? You can see all those things. Now, you may not personally be able to. However, other people have audited this software. Now, the thing is that you can use this legally in your books to write your books. You see, software licensing, we do talk about licensing a little bit. Is everybody going to get caught if you're using a piece of software without the proper license? Probably not. But if you're running around writing your books on a student copy of Microsoft Office you bought a long time ago as a student, and someone wants to look into that, and they discover that you've been writing commercial books on a student copy of a license, that's a big no-no, and Microsoft could come after you. Of course, the other thing Microsoft is doing I'm not a huge fan of is they are pushing everything on subscription models. And some of us just do not want or need to be spending a lot of extra money every month buying software, especially when there is a free version around. LibreOffice does replace your basic Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and even the databasing applications freely in free replacements. And on most instances, people are going to have no difference. If I were to come by and you're not a computer person and I installed LibreOffice on your computer, you would not even know you're not using Microsoft Office. That's how close they can be. Now, this is a system that is available on Windows or on Mac, no matter what system you're using, or if you are like me and I use Linux, it is also freely available on Linux. Now, why might you want to use LibreOffice? LibreOffice itself, it does everything with local files instead of cloud-based stuff. Some of you get lost in all the cloud-based technologies and there's all connections to the internet, and if you're trying to just boot up your computer really quick and see something and it's on a cloud and you can't get to it, that's kind of a problem for some people. Everything is local here. Now, some people like the cloud-based, some people don't. If you want to use LibreOffice in a cloud infrastructure, it is possible. However, it's a little bit more complicated and beyond the scope of this particular video. Now, it does not require a subscription. As we said, Microsoft Office does still allow and have a one-time buy-it subscription to the software, and they've committed to at least 2 or 3 more years of doing that. They have not talked about going forward. But what they're trying to do is get absolutely everybody they can on their subscription model, because they know that you get everybody using their system, you get a subscription model, and now this is how most of the software companies are making all of their money, is through subscriptions. LibreOffice does not require one such subscription. If you're down on your luck, if money is tight, you do not have to worry about paying for a subscription to Microsoft Office. LibreOffice does everything that you need perfectly. And the last thing is, there are a few advanced editing and formatting features that LibreOffice has that Microsoft Office doesn't. Now, in the last versions, since I have used Microsoft Office a number of years ago, you can now actually format a book in it, something you couldn't do on the last versions I personally used. But the formatting options inside of LibreOffice are much more robust, easier to work with. And throughout this channel, we have a lot of tutorials about doing stuff just like that. Now, you can also do things like they have drawing tools, they have math tools, and PDF editing is also something available in the drawing aspect of LibreOffice. And ultimately, it is more private. They don't have some central company that is collecting a bunch of data and usage statistics about you. Now, you may not care about that kind of stuff, but me as a privacy person and a privacy advocate, I don't want my software collecting any information on me, and if I have an option that works just as well, I am going to go with the option that does not collect all of this data. And so those are the things that I personally have liked about LibreOffice over the years. Now, the possible issues, if you are collaborating, as I said, the online features are not as readily accessible to everybody, certainly not freely accessible to everybody. It is possible to do some local implementations of an online system, but that is, as I said, much more technical, not something the typical author is going to be concerned with. So the other factor is if you are passing documents back and forth, LibreOffice by default uses the Open Document Type format, the ODT file type, which Microsoft Office technically can and should use, but they like throwing up big scary warnings because they want everybody using their proprietary .x file format. So if you are saving something inside of LibreOffice using the defaults, people who receive it may get a warning on their computer about opening it. It is an unnecessary warning, absolutely designed to scare people into the Microsoft ecosystem. DocX is what Microsoft uses. If you are doing a lot of collaboration with people, go ahead and change your default settings in LibreOffice to save documents as DocX. There's not a problem with doing that. And then there won't be any issues back and forth. Also, because it is entirely offline, you do have to make sure you have a better robust backup strategy, which is a good thing to do anyway. Always have copies of your files in at least 3 different locations. You'll want them on your computer. If you're doing cloud syncing, that's cool. You want them at least one other place. Now we're going to go ahead and jump over to the computer and we're going to do an overview on where to get it and what this software package looks like. So over here on the website, you can see that this is at LibreOffice.org and there is a download button, and go down here and hit your download LibreOffice. So over here, it will kind of detect what you're on. So you can see it detects here that I'm on Linux. But if you pull this guy down, you can download a variety of different things. So let me walk through these options, and hopefully you can see these download options. Sometimes these type of download menus don't actually show up right. So I'll actually go ahead and click them so they'll appear in that list there. So Windows 64-bit is what most of you guys would be using if you're using a Windows system. They also have Windows 32, which is more older systems or some very specialty niche systems, and they also have a Windows ARch64. This is an ARM-based architecture, so some of your more modern systems will have ARM-based architecture. You can always check your computer about, like My Computer properties, and it'll tell you what is the architecture of your processor. As far as Mac, we have the Intel-based, which are more of your older Macs, and then we have the Apple Silicon, which is your newer Macs. These are the ones with your M1, M2 chips, etc. And then, of course, if you're running Linux, we have a .deb and a .rpm file for Linux. Of course, nearly every Linux distribution I know of, just head over to your Linux repository and you can install it better from that particular location. So then you can find the other information, including I'll highlight the donate button. If you actually get a lot of benefit from this and you can throw some extra money, maybe you've made a book and you've made $100, $200, $300, $500 on a book, it would be nice if you threw some of the money back to them so that they can actually keep on going with their operation for giving you free software. Now let's look at the software itself. Now on Mac, the only option that we have is this launcher screen. They don't have the individual applications. On Linux and on Windows, you do have the standalone applications in your menu. That's perfectly okay. It doesn't matter which one you use. This overall system here, though, is going to show you if you want to create a writer document, a spreadsheet document, a PowerPoint presentation, and the drawing tools. These are things that will do your PDFs. You can even do active PDFs and edit them. Now I have 2 here that are grayed out. That is your math formulas and your databasing. These are also free options, but since most people don't typically use them, most Linux distributions do not install those by default, so they're simply not installed on my system. Now, the other thing that I want to draw your attention to is the very nice tools that they have built in. In addition to any of those documents, like I said, you want a writer document, just click the open button there and you can actually get the writer document. But if you go under New, you have options over here for text documents, spreadsheets, presentations, drawing, but we also have things like business cards and labels. Now, I have entire videos about how to use these individual tools, and it looks like the individual systems for business cards are not pre-populated on this particular. Okay, then no, never mind. They're there. They just took a second to show up. So if you happen to have some business cards or labels laying around, you can go ahead and have a look at what those are. And then what you can do is you can come in here and choose what your individual labels are. I have whole tutorials on this. We're not going to go through a whole tutorial on this. I have done those in other places. Just know that you can do that, and you can search out the business cards and labels for a tutorial on doing those in fine detail. Since this is mostly a writing channel, I'm just going to do a brief overview on the system here on Writer. As far as your overall layout, it's going to be the same no matter which one of these you happen to pick. We'll just pull one up really quick for each one. Here's your spreadsheets and your presentations. Of course, it'll start in with this. You can create your own templates for these, so these are just the built-in ones. And then your drawing is going to be more like a writing drawing tool grid there. So we are going to look at the framing of the system is effectively all the same. Now, this does use the older toolbar layout. I personally like that better, so I generally keep that always the same. For those that have really drawn near and really enjoy the modern toolbar interface, we actually do have the user interface tab, and you can actually select, this is the standard, here's your tabbed ones. So these are kind of like your Microsoft Office, but they also have some other ones. You can do a single toolbar, a sidebar, a compact table, grouped compact. So what some of you might be looking for is you can select it and hit apply just to Writer, or you can apply to all. So you can see what this looks like here. It just how it pulls in the tabs. Let me just show you how to close that out. So you can see here that it organizes everything by the tabs, the same way that Microsoft Office is doing it these days. If you want to get back to that, it is over here somewhere. I got to remember exactly where it is. It's under User Interface on the hamburger menu up there. Like I said, I like the old standard, so I'm just going to go ahead and apply that across the board. Now, the other thing that we have here is your side panel. The side panel is a very useful panel over here that will give you a lot of information. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There you go. So you can go a little bit bigger on this. And this panel here has just a lot of different options. So we have our style properties. These are our style sheets. This is the individual single styles for like just individual things. This is actually a full style system where you can fully come in here and you can edit what every one of these styles is doing. You can change the fonts, the spacings, every single thing you can do. You can make the changes to these, make all of your styling exactly the way you want. Again, we have tutorials about all of that. Here's basic clip art galleries. Here's the navigator. So if you have things in different headings and whatnot, here's a heading 1. We'll do a heading 2, heading 3. Do another heading 2, and well, I wrote header, but that's fine. So then if you happen to have these guys here and we set the styles, so let's just go ahead and set those, and then what you'll see is the navigator is going to create a navigation pane allowing you to quickly go back and forth between different sections of your document more easily. So go back, that's a header 3 there, okay. So now you can see inside of this. So if I had, several pages, I could come in here, and as long as I'm properly formatting everything, it's going to go to the proper sections when I double click on these. And then if you have any tables, frames, images, all those are going to auto-populate inside of the system. These are your individual pages, which are also editable in your page styles, which are over here. These are left page, right page, or default style page. What is an EndNote page? Then we have specific styles for lists and images. But this one here will do some fine tweaking to this individual page style. And then you can see what all the different styles happen to be. So there's a lot of different options inside of this allowing you to fine-tune all of your writing. If you learn how to use those styles properly, you're going to come up to a situation where your writing is going to be perfect. So when you need to submit it to your editor, they're going to look at it and go, wow, this is a well-formulated document. You don't want to just do, just type in your titles of your chapters and then make them bold or something inside of there. When you send that out to somebody, there's no subdivisions to see what's where. Whereas if you put each one of those chapter titles with a different header, they can quickly see the document and navigate back between them. And there's tools inside of Office that will allow them to do that as well. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is your document properties, because down here in the properties, file properties, this is applicable to this particular document. And so you can set the title, the subject, the various keywords, the publisher, the rights, all that kind of stuff. Anything you want to embed in the document, you can do that. The other thing I will address your attention to is the font tab, because if you are using some form of custom fonts and you need to send those along to a publisher, you will want to embed the fonts in the document, and then you might even only embed the fonts that are actually used. You might have defined some other font, chosen not to use it, and there's nowhere in your document that has it. It's going to exclude a font that's not used. But that is generally something you want to turn on each of your files. And then you can see your statistics, how many pages, tables, images, words, characters, particularly useful if you are writing an article, for example, and they say we want to document between 300 and 500 words. Obviously, all that stuff is down at the bottom of the page as well. You can see down at the very, very bottom, down here by where my mouse is there, 10 words, 44 characters, but you can see some better statistics in there if you want to. So there is a lot of options there. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is the export and export as options. So this will allow you to export your document in a variety of different formats. So we have a lot of different formats, as we had mentioned. So XHTML is going to make like a web page. You can do a PDF file. You can do an EPUB if you want to convert your book to an ebook. Now, I will warn you that the ebooks this produce are not high quality. Like a lot of the tools you get online, those aren't going to be high quality either. Most of those are just going to run it through a back-end software of this and just spit it out. Technically, it works if you throw it in an e-reader, but it's not well formatted. I always do this to start my ebook production. I start here, and then I just fix the document. And I have videos about how to do that as well. There's a writing index exporter. Here's a JPEG. So if you want to export it as an image file, I guess you can do that. WebP is a WebP image. So those are your options to export as. Now, if you save as instead, this is where you find those different document types. The ODT, we had talked about that, is the open source document file. There's also a template, but if you scroll down, you can actually see various versions of Microsoft Office as well. So if you do want to do the docx, you can save it as those. Then there's docx for different versions of Microsoft Office as well. Down here's 97 to 2003. You can do text files. Basically anything that you might want to do are all available over there under your Save menu. So those are the various features inside of LibreOffice. And if you just close out of your document, let's just hit Don't Save. And then you come back over here, you're going to find each of these are about the same. Now, is this going to work 100% absolutely for absolutely everybody? No. But for the vastest majority, I always say 99.9% of users, LibreOffice is a perfect replacement for Microsoft Office. There's no reason we need to be paying Microsoft for a software package that we can download this version for free that's better, and then pay them what you want out of a donation instead of out of being forced to pay for it. There are very, very small niche circumstances that you need to have some other tool instead of this. That is okay. I'm not completely mad at anybody that decides they want to keep using Microsoft Office. That's fine, it's a fine software package. But here on this channel, we teach you about other alternatives and other ways of doing things. I write all my books on this and I format all my books on this. If you have a look at my book catalog, we got a lot of books that all have been written on LibreOffice. All have been sent directly to the printer and everything works great. Never had an issue before. So even if you are using Microsoft Word, you can install this on your computer and play around with it. You're not going to interfere. Now, if you're already on Windows and you install an extra application, it might change that default of Word documents to this. You may or may not want that. You can always right-click the file and click Open With and then set as default. So if it changes it, if you install it and it changes your default, you can always do that on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So you can, though, install these both to the same computer and play around with it and see if it can do what you want it to do. Now, what you need to ask yourself is it worth paying for the subscription for Office 365? Do you use it enough and do you use the extra features enough to justify the cost? Sometimes the answer to that is yes. Sometimes the answer to that is no. Sometimes you are just paying it because I guess you're supposed to pay it and it's the way it's always been and that's that. I completely understand that. But you might want to ask yourself that question. So as far as the usage of it, we didn't cover a lot of the fine details, and the reason for that is we have a ton of tutorials fixing page numbers, sidebar callouts, indexes. All these types of videos are already on the channel. Have a look at the channel for some of those, and I would encourage you to look at those, and if there's updates to those, let me know. I do monitor the comments for this channel, so I will be looking at those videos myself, making adjustments or corrections, or just newer, fresher videos in this wonderful naturescape that we've been doing the modern videos out of. So with that, thank you all for watching. I hope that this video has helped you to get your writing done